What's poppin', people? It's Dante. Getting my morning started here along the Schuylkill River Trail. And just don't want to wake anyone up, so just whispering really quickly. But going for my morning walk here along the Schuylkill River Trail. We got a biker coming behind me. Woo! People are biking early in the morning. That's cool. Hey, look, there's something special about these early weeks in fall when you get this nice crisp cool breeze in the morning, and then in the afternoon the sun comes out. I actually love the fall. This is probably my favorite season. I love it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the change of seasons, and I'm so eager for the day to start. You know, there's something about waking up early and going for a march. I've got my 40-pound plate carrier on, doing some weight training, doing some marching, got the barefoot shoes on. You know, I mourn when the sun sets and I yearn for the sunrise. You know, there's something that is within me that is lusting for life itself, to be out here on the front lines of life, to be in movement, to be in motion, to be marching onwards endlessly. You know, you think of this notion of freedom being this freedom of choice. You know, could I go left or right? You know, guess what? When you're on the Schuylkill River Trail, there is no option. There's only onwards. There's only upwards to the cliffside behind the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And I find that by starting my day off at this elevated view, each and every morning I fuel my curiosity and I fuel my life with this sensation of bliss and happiness generally, you know, for I'm just so happy and ready to start the day. I really do find that the physical nature of life is what sets everything into place. It's what sets life in motion. And thinking of vitality and power and strength being the ultimate aim as a human, to strive upwards. For me, having the ability to march early in the morning for an hour with this weight on my back and my chest, to have the physical capability of walking simply, I mean, this to me is the ultimate privilege in life. And when I consider that basic thought of the physical nature of life and the movement of my body and the contraction of my muscles fueling me with this sensation of bliss, I'm just so grateful for the day. You know, I'm just so grateful to have another opportunity to walk. I'm so grateful to have the sun that will rise shortly enough, you know, and I'm just yearning for it. And you know, this to me is success. You know, success isn't some material thing or an external validation. Success is waking up and just being so eager to start the day. And it's like, if you had to live the same day on loop every single day, you know, could you do it? You know, could you thrive in that? And you know, I personally do. And it's interesting, you know, you think of the myth of Sisyphus pushing his rock uphill, and you know, him being tormented for eternity pushing his rock, but learning to affirm that sort of destiny of him physically toiling for eternity, you know, and continuously moving onwards. You know, that is that is maybe where we all are as human beings generally. And you know, maybe there are some truths to these ancient myths and archetypes to learn from. And when I consider this one in particular, I consider life as suffering. And you know, is life suffering? I mean, ultimately maybe it is, for we do have an inevitable death at the end of our lives, and we will get sick and brittle, and our bones may break, and our skin may be cut, and we will bleed, and we are flesh-bound, gravity-bound creatures. And so maybe it's inevitable that humans do feel pain, and I think maybe that pain that we all feel is something that we can all relate to. And if we all relate to this notion of life as suffering, well then why don't we just affirm it? You know, why don't we just affirm that suffering and make it the greatest suffering that God has ever seen, and you know, dance and sing and, you know, make this our greatest performance. And yeah, I think that pain is one of those things that we can all agree upon as a vital and integral part of the human condition to feel pain. And you could argue that walking barefoot, it's inevitable that you will feel some pain after a long day of walking and marching. I feel like that pain, that slight bit of pain though, it makes you feel stronger the next day. You feel like you overcome yourself, and that feeling of self-overcoming through physical training, through overcoming pain, is for me what provides life deeper meaning for the more power that I feel within my physical body to go out there the next day. Ultimately, the happier I become. And so pain and pleasure has correlation. And I remember my time in Zambia, Africa. Oh, here comes the train. Oh man, is it gonna be loud this early in the morning? Let's see. Oh man, choo choo. Hugga chugga, hugga chugga. Here it comes. When I was a Peace Corps, oh, it's not gonna honk? Okay, good. Good, 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 good. Thank you, Industrial Revolution. We got Tropicana coming in. We got some orange juice. Anyways, when I was in Zambia, Africa, as a Peace Corps volunteer, I actually remember watching the boys play without shoes on, right? The boys would play soccer. Oh, there it goes, honking. God dang it. The boys would play soccer or football without their shoes on. They would play barefoot. And I'll never forget taking my shoes off as I wanted to play with the boys, and I didn't want to kick their feet or whatever, and I wanted to play how they play. So I took my shoes off and I tried to play in the dirt barefoot, and needless to say, for the next week I had to soak my feet, for they were blistered and battered and sore. And I was amazed that these boys do this every single day, for they have strength in their feet, for they're not used to having shoes on their feet to play. And the reason why they don't have shoes on their feet to play soccer is because they can only afford to have one pair of shoes for school, right? They have one pair of shoes, and then once they get to high school, maybe they can get two pairs, and then they can have another pair of shoes for play and work. It's very paradigm shifting when you recognize the simple privileges in life that we sort of have here in the United States. And I think through the discipline of walking barefoot, I live in a simulated state of poverty, and that state of simulated poverty teaches me discipline. And I think more so about that practice of discipline now that I embark on this sort of walking all day, being outside all day, embracing the physical nature of life sort of way of life. And yeah, I think that the simplest pleasures that we have, like having shoes or even clean water from a tap, are so simple but so profound and so integral to how we live our everyday lives here, where in the village at this time early in the morning, I would spend my time grabbing water from the well and bringing back bucket after bucket on my head and boiling it and preparing it through a gravity filter and then drinking it and storing it, and having to sort of work just to really sustain your life through water. It's such a simple thing, but yeah, it's something that I'm very grateful for here in the United States. It's like I'm actually really grateful to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I guess the greatest thing about the United States is we do have freedoms here, and I think that we should make sure to recognize those freedoms and to really appreciate them and be grateful to be here in the greatest place in the world. I've come to the conclusion that, there really is no better place to be. The United States really is the greatest nation, and I'm just really proud to be an American. Honestly, I feel very blessed to wake up each day in Philadelphia, where the birthplace of democracy occurred, where our founding fathers penned the Declaration of Independence and, started the revolution against the British for a mere tax of 2%. How many percent? What was the tax that they were revolting against the British for? What's amusing is the amount of taxes that we find here. It's interesting when you consider the economics of the country and the current state, and perhaps it is bad. Perhaps perhaps there is suffering, there is lack of opportunity, especially for people like my age. I'm 28 years old, 1996. I believe I'm considered, I'm Generation Z, right? And so our generation doesn't necessarily have the same opportunities that our fathers, our mothers, and our ancestors have had, in a way. We have all of the amenities of the Industrial Revolution. We have, all of these luxuries and things. But maybe we don't have the same economic opportunities as people who have come before us. Maybe we don't have the same opportunity to purchase property, considering the insane prices for single-family homes. You have to sort of basically just enslave yourself to debt to simply afford a place to live. And a lot of the wages that we sort of rely on through our salaries to pay for our everyday goods like food and shelter does not sustain an individual, let alone a family, on a single income to thrive. And when I consider thriving, I consider putting aside money to save, money to invest, money for the future. And if the individual no longer has the capacity to save for the future, this is why you will see much more indulgence in hedonistic pleasures or consumer culture of purchasing things and just going on fancy trips, or just drinking alcohol, doing drugs, sort of just living for the now and not living for the future. And if the dollar depreciates in value over time, well, then why not just spend it now? And so I can't help but to think that if the founding fathers were around at this current time in my generation, I think that we would be looking for some sort of change. I think that we would be looking for something new or different on the horizon, right? But I don't think that there really is any other way to make change but to be politically engaged. And so maybe I'm gonna have to run for city council one day. I think that inevitably the dollar will depreciate in value over time as we now print money ad infinitum. And with this money printing, our value of the dollar depreciates. And so when I receive a check and cash that check on a Friday, not only are the banks closed on the weekends and I must wait until Monday to receive half of it and then Tuesday to receive the full amount, but the balance that appears in my account is a fake number, right? It's just it's basically just a number, and they're lending me money and they don't actually have it, right? They have to print more out inflating the money supply, which then in turn depreciates the value of my dollar, and then holding my dollar in my bank actually will depreciate in value over time. And so with this, what do we do with money? I think that studying ancient civilizations, in particular considering Philadelphia as the birthplace of democracy, perhaps Athens being the birthplace of democracy in the world, Athens fell through extension of their military power. Athens fell when they got a little bit too war hungry. I believe they lost to Sparta, and to recover the debts, they had to coin more gold coins. And at the time, using gold coins, they decided to dilute their gold coins with copper. And as they diluted their gold coins with copper, the money supply increased, leading to the decline and the depreciation of their coin, where now 10 copper gold coins costed, or was the cost for one of their regular gold coins. And from there, their civilization inevitably declined and collapsed. And when I consider money as the ultimate source of energy of a society that keeps us moving onwards, that keeps us pushing our rocks uphill, well, maybe there will be a point where people aren't going to want to push the rock uphill anymore, and they're going to realize at some point in time that they're really not going to reach the peak, and the rock will keep pushing down. And if the rock is to constantly be pushing you down, but you're constantly pushing it up, and you have to do it over and over again, will you? What if that was your fate, and you simply learn to affirm it and love it, to love the suffering, to love the joy, to love the sorrow, the sadness, the anger, the lust, the feelings that you have as a human being? Maybe to affirm that suffering is the only solution to our modern day problems. But it really does come down to shifting your mind away from this material world, from what these worldly ideas of success are, and honing in on yourself, on your soul, on your heart, and your feeling of contentment and happiness and flourishing, and what that means for you. And waking up every morning eager to catch the sunrise, to me, is the ultimate sign of success. Being ready and prepared and excited each day is all that truly matters. And if life really is suffering and there is no light at the tunnel, well, then why not just bask in the darkness under the stars, yearning for that sunrise and affirming life's suffering with optimism for the future.